up with another short story reading. Um, I guess it doesn't matter my stream information. So I just went on to the creative writing uh, subreddit and chose the first story, basically the same thing as last time. And we'll read it. It looks pretty short, but honestly, that might be better for my purposes. Anyway, so let's get going. J and A. Hmm. Pretty interesting. I'm thinking about what you might say. I'm assuming this is like the name of two people, the initials. The story of J and A. So the title, um, you know, usually has some sort of indication of the truth that's revealed in the story. Something, you know, I don't like it when the title of a story is very practical, that the writing serves a very conscious purpose, and the story of J and A sounds like it attempts to resolve or close the story of J and A, but you know, I like it when a title is a little more abstract and serves a purpose on its own, a sort of secondary art to the main artwork, a sort of art about the art. Um, anyway, that's my just my talking. So he reached out the day I came back from my surgery. So reached out means that they're pretty distant, and he has to close the gap. Okay. Oh shoot. He asked if I wanted a drink at the Pink Flamingo, a speakeasy. I was supposed to be resting, but I went anyway. Perched on a bar stool, awkward and raw, only 6 or 7 days post-op. We kept a polite distance and traded the small talk of people trying not to reveal themselves. He made a point to say he was single. He asked about my family in a way he hadn't before. When I went for a goodbye hug, he returned a careful sideways squeeze. I drove him home feeling the odd little hollow of what wasn't said. Oh, wow. Actually, I'm kind of liking the writing. Let's see if it goes anywhere. We texted here and there, and the following Thursday, he asked if I wanted to watch a movie. He arrived with a backpack cooler full of Coors Lights, classy in his own way. He seemed different. Something about his energy was calmer. Hmm, should have some clarification. Are we talking about who he was on the day they got to know each other, or the way he was a long time ago? Because there isn't any precedent for this word calmer and different, there isn't that sort of reference point to the first reaching out thing. I made a fortress of pillows on the couch, the soft barricade of surgery recovery, and sequestered myself in the corner. We sat a cushion apart, and watched Poor Things, laughing through the first half like old friends. Then, mid-movie, his hand reached for mine and then retreated. Confusion sat heavy between us. Think a little bit. Let's see about this metaphor here of confusion sitting heavy. I think it's not very good, but let me explain. I thought that ship had sailed long ago. Yeah, this is just it's too stylized. It's too an effort at style when and that doesn't have, you know. He must have read that on my face because he reached again, brought my hand to his lips, and kissed my palm, gentle, reverent, and then let it go. The motion awoke something inside me, a sort of recognition. I felt like I'd known that kiss 1,000 lifetimes ago. Wait, this is just. This can't be right. Because the reverence is about the fear of coming back after what happened. And now we have some sort of recognition of the fear that she'd known 1,000 lifetimes ago. It's a completely new fear. Okay. I shifted awkwardly, moving the pillows and scooting closer. He made a joke about diagrams. It was an old joke from a movie night where I was snarky about him not cuddling with me as much as I wanted. And the words slipped out, quieter than I meant. Oh, I thought you didn't want that. He sounded surprised. No, he said. I definitely do want that. Then he kissed me. It was a rhythm of near and away, his hand in mine, then loosened as if overwhelmed, then fingers finding lips again, we turned toward one another and kissed. Sometimes the kisses paused, timing suspended, our faces hovering close enough to feel each breath on the other's skin. I see. So the kiss that she'd known 1,000 lifetimes ago is coming through the reverence. And the reverence is sort of fading away. It sounds like a little bit of an abuse cycle, no? Like this near in a way, right? Not to say that that's like how the relationship should be dumbed down or something like that, but I'm trying to understand the story. Okay. Sometimes the kiss is paused, timing suspended, our faces hovering close enough to feel each breath on the other's skin. When the movie ended, he looked at me again. One last kiss, he said, like he knew how long it would be before our lips met again. He kissed me with a careful hunger, straddling that line between tender and urgent. 2 weeks post-op, I was careful with how I moved my body. It hurt, but desire blurred pain into something else. He pushed into me and kissed me deep. The words came out of me before I could stop them, something I had never admitted over the past year. He exhaled the same confession back, I miss you, and it felt like two halves of one breath stitched together. We kept kissing, but my body reminded me of its limits. I can't, I said, the practical truth wedged into the tenderness. He said softly, I don't want to hurt you, and pressed a kiss to my stomach as he stood. You're worth the wait, he murmured. Hmm. Okay, we need to talk about that. Because this is a pleaser. Something said to please. He left and the room hummed with what had just happened. I sat in the quiet and asked myself the question I'd tried to avoid all year. Had I been wrong about his feelings this whole time? I had been in love with him so long, had tried and failed so to move on so many times, and now the line between friend and something else had at last been crossed. Ah, interesting. Interesting story. So let me like analyze the paragraph breaks because that seems pretty important. So in the first paragraph, we've got two things. The introduction of the surgery and his sort of purely tentative return, right? The little hollows, the reaching out, it's not a full return. Okay, we texted here and there. Now we're back to old friends. So not quite happy. It's a little confusing here because like the ship had sailed a long time, so it seems like the paragraphs are tracking with how intimate they are feeling. And so apparently this paragraph we texted here and there is a long ago. Or is this confusion a more abstract sort of, you know, we just broke up kind of confusion? Because then that's non sequitur with this one, this sentence. Um, and then retreated. So the question for me is like, what's the fear and what's his reverence? Is that respect sort of paired with fear? And it seems to be so in some way, but I'm not quite sure. I'm trying to learn. Uh, Gentle, reverent. We have a lot of these nicely placed adjectives. They're a little bit of intrusion from the author, but they're quite uh, meaningful, you know. An effort of the author to try and tell us what's actually happening that isn't quite doesn't come naturally. A sort of analysis. Um, so I think the story is very much like a, you know, it's operating on two levels. The natural writing and these sort of intrusions that the you know the author themselves is consciously trying to work out what's happening, right? Like even asking us questions, and so we got these kind of intrusions into the natural narrative that uh, a step beyond that is the actual narrative. So I'm trying to figure out like what is the actual narrative from both the intrusions and the genuine writing. Okay. Emotion woke something inside me. Like if I were to give advice to this author, it would be to let um, these intrusions sort of dissolve. Try to work from what just comes naturally, and if you know if these intrusions come up, don't put them inside the writing. Try to create more writing. A writing that might go backwards. You know, um, confusion. Like like a lot of metaphors are very clearly um, intrusions, efforts at trying to make simple and uh, not simple so much as like there's an effort to make familiar the writing and less so the reality of the writing, that the writing is about uh, an attempt to make the writing itself familiar. And so there's a lot of intrusion, but that's an important part of what's really going on here, right? Because if this is a story about somebody trying to resolve a relationship, they are using the writing and to shape their own desire, to shape their own sense of things. There's a sort of stakes to this writing that makes it impossible for the writing to be plain and simple, genuine writing. So, let's see. The motion awoke something inside me, a sort of recognition. Like this. This is a metaphor. This is certainly an intrusion. You know, the motion awoke something inside me. It's a contradiction. I know it's an intrusion because it's a contradiction with the natural thing, which is that already there's this sort of odd little hollow, right? Or maybe the odd little hollow is the intrusion. One of them is the intrusion, right? Because these contradict each other. What the person really feels is either already there or not, right? The desire doesn't need to be awoken if there is already this tentative feeling, this hollow of what wasn't said, right? On the other hand, maybe there isn't so much of an odd hollow, or it isn't as tentative as they think. Maybe they just show up and they really feel like they have nothing to say, and then this awakening is actually very true, right? A sort of recognition. I felt like I'd known that kiss 1,000 lifetimes ago. Hmm. Why the exact, what's it called? The hyperbole. Why the 1,000 lifetimes? It's not as though it's the parent. I feel like this kind of language should be referring to the sort of very, very first love. Like you know, the parent holding the baby, not the um, man who broke her heart or something. Yeah. Okay, I shifted, awkwardly moving the pillows and scooting closer. So let's talk about like oh, no comments, but 3 upvotes. I'm gonna upvote too. So let's see. The surgery is a rather important piece because it's a metaphor for the sort of tentativeness, right? It's this, it's it's the externalization of the fear, um, a sort of practical thing that stands in place of the fear that the person doesn't want to really own, right? The person actually, throughout this entire story, is very receptive, right? Like, whatever the guy said, wait, she even said, I miss you first, right? Like, she wants this to happen and loves this person very, very much. And the surgery is actually the other side of that love, right? The practical sense that this person is actually dangerous to them. They're vulnerable, they're recovering, they're, you know, incapacitated to some extent. And right, that all is true, not just on a physical level, but on a psychological level as well. It's just externalized so that the what's left is a complete acceptance of the person, right? And that may be an interesting thing to think about for like fiction in general, because fiction oftentimes paints the world in a way that what needs to be externalized is externalized. Not to say that that's everything going on in fiction, but it could be something worth thinking about later on for me. Um, I'm just looking for what else to say. My body, right? The body is literally trying to tell her, something is actually a bit off, a bit dangerous, a bit not fitting, right? And on the other hand, that she's overriding her own sort of emotions, her own body, in order to be closer to them. And maybe for the last thing I'll talk about is why are they not going to see each other for a while? Is that also a practical thing? Is that uh, that's the assumption that he's going to leave her again, or is it wasn't said, right? It's not clear why they're not going to see each other again. And this needs to be taken out. This last paragraph is completely, it's like somebody trying to explain the story to somebody else. It's something that's supposed to go on the back of a book written by a publisher, not the author. Um, yeah. Where's the right? And this, I don't want to hurt you, is a sort of nod to her pain, and yet it sort of, rather than him, you know, being tentative, like, oh my God, maybe being here is hurting you, actually, he's coming closer. He notices this pain so as to separate himself from it and come closer to her. And then where's the sentence where it says, like, I won't see him? The urgency. What's that urgency about? It seems that he has some love for him, or at least it's being read that way. The urgency, the desire. If he's not the one who won't see her again, then why is it, you know, I mean, that I think the story just does not cover that part in a meaningful way. I mean, there needs to be some explanation for his urgency paired with the fact that probably he doesn't won't see her for some time or something like that. Okay, there we go.